Hello, souls. So today's story is actually one that was really hard to read, so I'm assuming it will be really hard to listen to as well. I know I had to read it a couple of times just to get through it. Whenever I wanted to start this channel, I just wanted to do it for whoever needed it. And one of the things that I've found along the way, when I've been reading some of these stories or listening to some of these people talk about it, it's that they all seem to have a common denominator. And, some of them don't have happy endings. Some of them are very sad or painful to listen to. And you think about, like, thank goodness I've never had to experience that in my life. That's probably the first thing that comes to your head when you hear a sad or a painful story or see somebody that has just struggled with something that's unimaginable. And I remember in the beginning I brought these stories to a close friend of mine because I wanted to just kind of get another opinion of where this could go. The first thing they said to me was, "That's really deep." I read 3 stories and I said, this is kind of what I'm going for. These are some of the stories that I've gotten already. And I think that obviously at first I agreed, some of these are not happy endings and there's not always a rainbow at the end. The thing that they all have in common is that it is so easy sometimes for us to just talk about our happy thoughts or our happy experiences or our joyful moments. I think it's these harder moments that people don't talk about, whether it's hard to get it out or put it into words, or you just don't want to say it out loud because it creates some kind of reality behind it, or you want to bury it. A lot of people just choose to bury it and move on with life. It just kind of sits there like a black cloud over you for a long time. So the point of this is not to sugarcoat any of it. I think that when you hear a story that you can't relate to, one of the things that probably comes to your head is, I can't imagine ever having to suffer through something like that. And the reality is that at some point in our lives, we're all going to have to suffer through something. You just don't know what that something is if you haven't already experienced it. And I know that I've mentioned this before, but as hard as it was for me to start this channel and even get in front of the camera, that was a huge step. It's not easy. It's very intimidating. You feel awkward. You don't really know what to say. But I can tell you that hearing these stories and reading them out loud, for me, I just pray that they have some type of relief and that they have some type of encouragement or a community that can gather around them. I've gone through so many channels where somebody posts something like, "I just don't know if I'm going to make it another day," or "I just don't know how I'm going to be able to keep doing this." And on those specific comments, there's a flood of people that come back to them and say, "You can do this. Pray that it gets better. God is with you. There has to be somebody out there that that really loves you. Maybe reach out to them." Somebody can probably be to that point in their life where they just feel like they have no one. And then you see 150 people reply to their comment, complete strangers, because they care about human beings. And I would not want to see anybody suffer that badly. So today's story is a little deep. I can't relate to this one. I am a mother myself. And when I think about the people that have gone through this type of life experience, it's just, I can't fathom how they're coping and moving on and putting a smile on their face, but people do it every day. I lost my son 6 years ago. That feels really hard to say out loud because there are days that it still feels like it happened yesterday. People ask how I'm doing after all these years, and I never really know how to answer that question. Like, what am I supposed to say? My son is still dead, I still miss him, and I think about him every day. Some days are better than others, but none of them are really easy. My son worked at an auto shop, and everyone knew him. If you asked anyone in town about him, they probably would smile before they answered. He was always joking around, always making people laugh. He was the type of person that could walk into a room and somehow make everyone feel comfortable around him. He had a wife, kids, and siblings who all adored him as well. He would always check up on me, and I think that's one of the parts that I miss the most about him. The random phone calls, or him just stopping by for no reason and hearing him say, "What's good, Mom?" I would give anything to hear him say that one more time. The day it happened, the day it happened started like any other day. He went to work. He called me on his way. We talked for a few minutes, and then he ended that conversation with, "I'll talk to you later." And I replayed that day so many times in my head over the years that I've almost lost count. And I always ask, like, what if he had just been late to work that day, or maybe somebody else had been there for that shift, or he just walked away from the situation? But none of it changes anything. The first month after he died are really blurry to me because I think that I was just on autopilot. I had a house full of family and friends, and my neighbors came over. So many people brought me meals or they called. Some sent flowers, others were telling me that they were praying for me. And I remember feeling so grateful for all of it, but I knew eventually that everybody had to go back to their lives, and I don't blame them for that. I think that that is what surprised me the most out of all of this. Not necessarily that my son was gone, because we all have to go at some point, but the fact that the sun still came up that next morning, as if nothing had ever happened and nothing had ever changed in the world. I felt so wrong in that moment. I remember sitting in my house and thinking, how is everyone just continuing to act like this is normal? Because nothing was normal to me anymore. I was already a widow when I lost him, and the rest of my children were all grown. So most of the nights it was just me and my thoughts. And trust me, that's not always a good place to be. Over time, I started noticing little pieces of myself start to disappear. Like I wasn't laughing as much, and I really didn't enjoy anything in the same way. I kind of stopped looking forward to going places and things that were happening. I didn't feel depressed, or at least I don't think I did, but I do just remember feeling tired all the time, like worn out. The feelings would slightly fade, but then they would just rush back with a new set of emotions every time there was a milestone or something was different with the family. For instance, the day his little brother got married, I feel like I should have been happier, and so much of me felt guilty for that for a long time. But at the same time, all I could think that day was, your brother should be here right now. And it seems like I focus more on the empty spaces rather than the people who are actually present in that moment. A few years later, his daughter had her quinceañera. That one hurt so badly. It was a gorgeous day, but he should have seen it too. He was her father after all, and he missed that dance. I wish I could have seen him standing next to her. Instead, there was just an empty space where he should have been. People tell me that time heals, and I don't know about that. I think time just teaches you how to carry things, but that weight never really leaves you. You do get stronger, or maybe you just get used to hurting, who knows. The hardest thing for me now is that I don't see my grandchildren as much as I used to. I get that life changes and everyone has their own lives, but it is so painful. When I look at them sometimes, I see pieces of him. I see pieces of him. His smile, some of the expressions that he used to make, his sense of humor, it all comes out through them. Sometimes I catch myself staring at them when they laugh, because for a split second I see him. But then the reality all comes back, and that's one of the cruelest feelings in the world. I don't think I've ever fully recovered from losing him. I mean, how does a parent ever really get over that? You just kind of adapt to the new world around it, because I just feel like a piece of me still died with him that day. And the rest of me just kept going because I had no other choice. Lately, my health hasn't been the best either. And I wonder if this grief is wearing me out from the inside. I've been carrying something this heavy for a long time, and eventually it takes a toll. I still pray every day. I thank God for the family that I do still have, and for the years that I was blessed to have with my son. I ask him every day to look after my grandchildren. But there are days when I ask him, how much longer, God? I know that sounds awful, but I just hope to see my son again one day. To the person that experienced this tragedy and has had to carry this loss for so many years and probably for the rest of your life, you are heard. You're not alone. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this with the world. Because, again, it's just one of those things in life where you hear people say all the time, you shouldn't ever have to bury your children. And as a parent, I just, that one's really hard. So thank you all so much for watching. And if you have a story of your own, please feel free to send it, and I will be happy to share it with the world. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. So until next time.